Well, good morning guys and welcome back to another episode of Bareham Engines. So as you can see, the weather is absolutely beautiful this morning. It is 8:10 in the morning, and the first thing I've got to do this morning is take a trip with Mikey Dove down to Dave Astbury at Astbury Motorworks. Two reasons. One, we've got to deliver the S54 for Tom Garness. Although I built the short motor, Dave has very kindly said that he would build the engine up because he's got to put the engine in the car, got to do some other bits of the car, etc. So he's going to be having that. Also, the block that we refaced for Dave that we bought in the other day, that was a block that we did, I think we refaced the head and the head gasket failed, so the block face was a bit iffy. So we faced that. So I said to Dave, save him the journey, I'll take all that down there. Mikey and I are going to go down there and we're going to measure up an E30 that Dave has got down there, which is a genuine E30 with no engine in. Mikey just wants to do his measurements on an actual car, although we have got the measurements. And just compare it to the front chassis legs, etc. that we've got on our E30. So we may as well do that down there. The only thing is, yesterday I did load up the small van. Obviously the small van has only got 2 seats. So as you can see in here, we've got the S50, the cylinder head that I refaced yesterday. We've got my rear lights that Mikey's going to need to fit in the rear panel of our car. We've got all the extra boxes and sump, etc. for the S54, and we've also, right at the back, we've got that block for Dave. So we put all that, loaded it all up yesterday. Unfortunately, because we've got 2 seats, we're not going to be able to take that van, and the reason is because Mikey's got Paul with him, Paul Dove, and obviously Dove's only come in 2s apparently, so we've got to drag both of them along with us, so we're going to have to take the big van. So we've got to transport all that lot into the big van as soon as they arrive, and then we're going to get on our way and get that job done. Right guys, I'm just going to butt in on my video. So we're probably most of the way through the day now, but I've just put this at the beginning. At the minute, I'm just putting some new pistons on some com rods here for this Peugeot 207. So I thought I'd take this opportunity rather than sitting in the office and wasting more time, just to sort of go on about the thumbnail and title. So the reason I'm sticking it in the first sort of three or so minutes is because I've had a few comments lately of people, don't know whether to sort of take them as negative or not, but they said they're getting a bit peed off with having to sieve through the video for the thumbnail and title sort of action bit. So I suppose I take it as a compliment that they're actually watching the video and the thumbnail and titles are working, but then again, it's almost like they don't want to watch the rest of the video because they think it's crap, and they just want to watch the watch the drama. But if it gets views, it gets views, I guess. I'm just hoping that they watch the more interesting bits of the video. So the thumbnail and title, what it's about, guys, is we've had this actually a few times. So obviously we deal with garages. Obviously we do garage work. Oh, drop the circlet, not a great idea. Yeah, we deal with garages. We do sort of local garage work, garages from away actually as well now, and they sort of send cylinder heads in here to be repaired, and we supply parts, etc. Now I had a phone call earlier off a gentleman, and he said it's regarding a garage that we have dealt with in the past. He sounded a little bit peed off, and he said, how's my head coming on that you've had from so-and-so garage? And I said, I'll be honest, I don't know where it is. I said, we've got loads of heads here. It must be one that John's sent in. I said, what were we doing with it? He said, well, you did the cylinder head a while back, a few weeks back. It had, I think it stripped the teeth off a cam belt or something like that. And you repaired it, and the garage has done it, and they said they brought it back to you because it's still misfiring or popping back through the inlet or something like that. I said, well, I'll have a look round while you're on the phone. So I had a look round. Sure enough, couldn't find anything. I said, we haven't got anything here from them. Oh, right, they said they sent it to you. And I said, well, they haven't. There's no notes on John's desk, and there isn't a job card been done for that garage. So, no. Ah, right. I said, what's the problem? And he said, well, you know, you replaced the necessary valves, gone through the head, refaced it, all the rest of it, and they say it's still popping back. They sent it back to you because obviously there's something wrong with the valves, and it's, you know, time's going on. We just want to know where my head is. And I said, well, we haven't got your head. So it sounds to me a little bit like, have you been in there? Have you spoke to them? Well, no, I've just rang them up. I said, well, I'd probably go in there, because what you might find is your cylinder head's still sitting in there, or your vehicle, and they haven't touched it, and they're sort of saying that they've sent the head in here, it was our fault, and we've got it, and they're sort of waiting for us. And I said, well, it's not here. So my thinking is, they may have timed it up wrong. It may be, if it's a pressed lobe type cam, it may be that it's had a clang up, it's moved the lobes, and although they've timed it up correct, it's obviously popping back through the ones where it's moved the lobes. I said, but if it's not a pressed lobe type, then they've timed it up wrong, and they're just trying to delay you by blaming us. So yeah, just thought I would sort of share that with you guys. I sort of have to smile about that. I've had that so many times in the past, and you're just thinking, well, do they not think that the customer's going to ring us eventually and see where it is and we haven't got it? Because they're going to look pretty silly when he goes back and saying, I thought you said that they've got it. So yeah, bit of a strange one, guys, but naught as queer as folk. Not going to tell my missus, Mikey, about that.
Well, what about yours?
About this.
What?
The McDonald's.
Hey.
Right, boys, put your plastic bags down there,
Squeeze
mate.
them together.
They're staining on the Alcantara.
Squeeze them together. Double the tabs. Double your tabs here, mate.
So, just on our way back from Astbury Motorworks, Mikey and Paul have just dropped off near South Moulton Junction, just on my way back to Barnstable. But yeah, we've done a bit of measuring up. Dave had 3 E30s there that were all good, never crashed shells, with no engines in. So we've done a measurement on all 3, compared all 3 on all the sort of dimensions that we've got. We've got the drawings for an E30 with dimensions on. We just wanted to check, obviously, physically on something that wasn't bent. Just check all the measurements, make sure they're all right. And yeah, sure enough, Mikey thinks, obviously he's not going to know till he gets back and measures it properly with the correct measuring equipment, but he thinks that the passenger side chassis leg at the front is sort of slightly bent in. He thinks, you know, up and down is level, but it's just slightly tweaked in, so we may have to get that jigged. He's pretty certain that the suspension turrets, etc., are all good and everything's all right from there. So basically it looks like the car's had a dap from the passenger side and just sort of bent that chassis leg in slightly. So we'll have to get that sorted. But yeah, just on my way back to the workshop now, guys, where I've got to start to assemble that Peugeot 207, that one that I faced the block on the other day, and then we rebored. We've gone through the head, so the customer wants us to put the crank rods, pistons in. We've obviously got new pistons, new gaskets, new bearings, etc., and just plonk the head on. I think they're going to time it up. So that's my job for today. Let's get back to the workshop, and we'll look forward to seeing some more updates from Mikey. So guys, just got back to the workshop, started boring this block over here, which I'll tell you about in a second, but just want to quickly, I don't know whether you've noticed, guys, probably the last month or so, really, a couple of months maybe, you probably noticed from my videos, with my overall sort of manner, I haven't really been there. I haven't really been sort of into it, not like I normally am. And the reason for that is probably following on from my sort of mental health video, a few videos back. I've been stressed to my eyeballs, to be honest with you. I felt the pressure, and that was one of the reasons for sort of bringing up that video the other day. I've been feeling the pressure of the work. Obviously, since the YouTube, the business seems to have changed drastically over the last year. Whereas we were used to working how we were working, John and I. We then took on Isaac, then Paul came in, who are still here, obviously. But we were just sort of getting inundated with emails, work. People were sending us work. We had it stacked up here at the back of the workshop, which to start with, absolutely great. You think, great, you know, this is what we've always dreamed of. But then over time, you realise that you just can't get through it any quicker. Although we got Paul, what I tended to be doing was spending more time in the office, more time dealing with customers, obviously customers with work that had been bought in here, that was sitting here, seeing how I was getting on. So I was sort of having to give them the bad news, which doesn't make you look great. I was then having to sort of deal more and more with ordering the parts, running the sort of work that was on the go really, whereas we were normally used to 2-3 engines on the go, and we were then having sort of 6 or 7, and to be honest it was not doing me very good up here. So what I've tended to do is the last couple of months I've held back on taking in work. We've cleared out what we've got in the back of the workshop. We've now got it all sort of sitting there, so we've got probably 5 or 6 engines on the go there, but nothing really in the queue. And to be honest, as you can tell by today, and it's not just the weather making me feel like it, I seem to be a lot happier with that. So sometimes less is more, as they say. So what we're going to do is we're just going to plod through what we've got, taking 1 or 2 engines at a time. So if any of you guys have got motors to be done now, I've been watching our videos thinking, Christ, they've got so much sitting at the back of the workshop, mine's never going to be done. We have got through it, so now's the time to give us a bell, guys, and get your engine booked in, and we can get that pretty much on the go straight away, really. So yeah, a lot happier with that. I'm not going to do that to myself again, although it is, as I say, it's nice to know that you've got work in the pipeline. It's not great having it sitting here, and the stress was just sort of overwhelming me, really. So that's where we are with the workshop, guys. This block on the boring bar at the moment is from a new customer called Lansing Marine. This is a big Ford block, 6-cylinder, massive thing here with I think it's a 4-inch bore. This has come in with a new piston that they've sent in. It's got to be bored out, plus 0.25 of a mil. So we're just boring that now. We're going to set it up on the hone and then hone it. And they wanted to know if we've got a boring bar that could fit that in, because it's just over 1 metre long. So as you can see, it's a pretty tight fit in our boring bar, but we can do it, so that's ideal. Here sitting down is the crankshaft, which John has just got to check, measure, but to be honest, it all looks okay. It's not had any issues, so I'm suspecting that's pretty much going to be bang on, and we can polish that. But John's back tomorrow, so he's going to give that a measure. So, been cracking on with the 207, got the crank in now, just got the pistons and rods over here, got the new pistons on the rods, what I was doing earlier on in the video, but one thing I have noticed, which ain't great, and I'm going to have to get in touch with them tomorrow. I'll have to speak to John tomorrow because I've been on my own today, he's been off today, but you can see there on this last piston, you've got the oil control ring, which looks great. You've got the top ring in the middle groove, so that's flapping about like a prick in a bucket, and then you've got no ring on the top. So we're missing the middle ring and the top ring's in the middle. That ain't good enough. So gonna have to get in touch with them tomorrow, but this is what you're dealing with, guys. They're a decent brand of piston actually, and decent rings. It's just that we're missing one. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching today's video, guys. Until Friday, we'll see you then. Cheers.